I'm just going with like the spelling I have. Okay. I want to talk about my car some more though. All right, everybody, put your hands together for your feature tonight, Diana Kroll.
Thank you. Well, it's obvious that Lloyd listens to jazz if he thinks I'm Diana Kroll. This is my first time being a feature, so I'm a feature virgin. It's not as bad as in high school when I was asked to play Popeye's girlfriend in a musical play that my school was putting on. I'd never played that character and I'd never done musical theater, so it was an extra virgin olive oil. That was for JP, he apparently likes it. So, back in January, I had a kind of a milestone birthday. I turned 50. Woo! Thank you. I guess I'm good at not dying or getting hit by cars or something. I'm just digressing. Another thing I don't understand about comedy is that Kennedy made a joke about Hitler, and then Lloyd did not say white supremacists. Anyway, it turns out that when you turn 50 in Ontario, the government sends you all kinds of great stuff in the mail. The first one they sent me was a reminder to get a colon cancer screening done. So, the way this works, you get a little screening kit, which is basically a card with 3 flaps in it. Behind each flap are 2 windows. And you get 3 things that look like coffee stirrers. What you're supposed to do is take a sample of crap on the coffee stirrer and smear it on one box. Take another sample, smear it on the next box, and do that 3 different days. And then you mail it back in. Extreme junk mail. It even came with instructions. It was beautifully illustrated line drawings. They don't use photos for some reason. They showed this woman, she put like a few sheets of toilet paper in the toilet first to support the poo, right? It's kind of like a bra. And then she went to the toilet. They didn't illustrate that for some reason. I guess you have to figure that part out on your own. And then she took a couple of samples with a stick. It looked simple. It looked really easy. But reality's different. Trump would have called those instructions fake poos. Because, first of all, you know, you gotta worry about consistency. Sometimes it's practically liquid, you know? And you're not taking a sample. Other times you strain for 5 minutes to expel a rock that clanks on the porcelain. And that flimsy coffee stirrer will not pierce it. A little stand-up tip here. There's no such thing as TMI. But I lucked out. Nice, medium consistency first time around. I'm like, woo, I got this. But what they don't tell you is the toilet paper starts taking on water and sinking. So you gotta act real fast. So I crouched down and I stabbed the shit and it kind of rolls over and I got nothing. So I'm smart this time. I'll stab it right in the middle. It can't roll over. And it just kind of sinks out of the way. Like, fuck! So after frantically stabbing it like 12 times, I finally got some. It was like waving it around all happy. And I smeared it. And then I read the instructions. It says, you need another sample from a different location. It's like, I didn't write where I took the first one from. I didn't take a photo or make a map. So I just randomly stabbed it 12 more times. I had my first rectangle full and I was done for the day. A few days later, I had the whole thing completed. Like, cool, I'm gonna mail this in. So I popped it in the envelope and I was like, oh God, do I have to lick this? Which is when I came to appreciate Scotch tape. I dropped it in the mailbox and then I came home and I dipped my hands in nitric acid and dried them on 60 grit sandpaper. And for the first time in a week, I felt clean. And then I started thinking, like the place where I sent this, you know, given the population of Ontario, they must get hundreds of these a day. What's it like, you know? Do they have to spread them out so they don't get critical mass or something? I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that place, I tell you. Because flies like shit, nobody does. And then imagine if it got lost in the mail. That would suck, you'd have to do it all over again. So I did research. I found out, yes, there was a postal carrier who lost 2 entire bags of colon cancer screening kits. He went nuts. He couldn't live with himself. He literally lost this shit. The second piece of happy birthday mail that the Ontario government sent me said, you need a mammogram. So I'm like, okay, this I can do. It's a couple of x-rays, right? What's the big deal? So I show up at the imaging clinic and they make me take off my top, they take off my bra, and they give me one of those stupid hospital gowns, you know? Put me in the waiting room where, to make life more comfortable, they keep the temperature 12 degrees Celsius. So I'm sitting there, you know, shivering in my paper gown, and this woman of about 65 sits down next to me. She's quite bigger than I am. Most people are. And she kind of looks me up and down, you know, appraising me, and she says, oh, first time, eh? And I was half expecting her to say, okay, bitch, give me a cigarette. Clean out my cell after exercise. But no, she just wished me luck. Then they took me into the interrogation room, where the mammogram technician started firing questions at me, rapid fire. Do you drink? Do you smoke? Yeah, I have a history of family history of breast cancer, all this stuff. And then she says to me, when was your last period? So I'm like, well, here's the thing. I'm transgender. I've never had a period in my life. So she looked at me in surprise and she said, wow, I never would have told. And at that point, she could have done anything she wanted to my boobs. I was so happy. I actually worry a little bit sometimes about doing that transgender joke, not because I'm worried about transphobia, but I'm worried that when I say I've never had a period, all the women in the audience will hate me. Sorry. See, I'm apologizing. Then she took me to the mammogram machine, and I was all nervous, so I was like making conversation, you know. So I said, you know, I hope you got enough to work with. I don't have a whole lot up here. So she goes, don't worry me, darling, you got plenty. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. She's from Newfoundland. I lived in Newfoundland for 12 years. I can relate. I can bond with this person. I was so happy. So we started talking about St. John's and all the places we knew. Next thing I know, she's grabbed my breast and she's like squeezing it like a piece of dough. And I had a weird flashback to my first job after high school in a bakery. And I imagined her shaping my breast into a bagel and sprinkling poppy seeds on it. But she did something worse. She stuck it in the mammogram machine and started it closing. So for those of you who've never had a mammogram, which is probably most of you, just imagine handing somebody your most tender, sensitive body part. You all know what that is. And imagine letting them put it in a vice grip. A lot of crossed legs all of a sudden.
I'm sorry. Seems like fun.
Anyway. Moving on. She told me to hold still for 5 seconds, which I did. It was the longest 5 seconds of my life. But they don't just take one x-ray, they take about 6 per side. So 15 minutes later, my breasts were just glowing cones of pain. And I said, okay, thanks, you know, because I'm polite. Not like, oh shit, you injured me. And she says, all right, honey, I'll see you in 2 years, right? Because you have to do this every 2 years. And I found out you have to do the poo stabbing every 2 years, too. I have a boyfriend. I told him about my experience at the mammogram clinic. I said, could you imagine a job where you're manhandling women's breasts all day long? You got this kind of misty-eyed and far away. All right, I'm gonna close with some short jokes. I mean jokes that are short, not jokes about short people. English is so fucking annoying, it's ambiguous, so I'm going to rephrase it in a way that cannot possibly be misunderstood. I am going to stand on this stage and give you all quickies. So, I like Chinese food, right? That's one of my favorite foods. I love Chinese food, but sometimes it doesn't agree with me. Like the other night, I stayed up for 3 hours arguing with a spring roll. I heard Microsoft is going to make a vacuum cleaner to compete with Roomba. It's going to be their first product that doesn't suck. Yeah, I like that one too. And I'm going to have to check my notes because you guys are so awesome. You made me Yeah, I'm into science and cosmology. I like reading about that stuff. Did you know some scientists think there are an infinite number of universes, that this is just one of a multiverse? So somewhere, if there are an infinite number, there's like a copy of the Earth, and there's another Swizzles, and another audience just like... You've heard this one before. Thank you, that's very meta. So, I have 3 kids. My middle daughter started university last year. So I was driving her to Waterloo and she says to me, you know, I really like a little mini fridge for my dorm room. So I said, yeah, that's cool. And then she said, I really like one of those, you know, goose feather comforters for the cold nights. So I said, yeah, I'm down with that.
Yes!
Thank you. Swizzles tip, just keep JP happy. And then she said, I need a notebook for my calculus, but it has to be completely blank, the prof said. So I said, yeah, no problem. And finally she said, okay, I'm hungry. I feel like, you know, chicken, lettuce in a tortilla. I said, okay, but that's a wrap. Thank you. I'm Diane Skull.
It's time to trans to the end of the show.